is up, everyone? Okay, so today we're gonna tackle the thing that I get asked about more than anything, and that is, what are my best tips, tricks? How do I do it? Traveling with kids, traveling with babies. If you're new here, or maybe you just haven't heard me say it, my husband is a travel agent. He owns a travel agency, so we travel a lot. We do a lot of Disney trips, and if you want to hear more of my Disney specific tips, I'll link the video where I share literally at Disney exactly how we do everything. I'll link that video up in the eye and down below if you want to see that. But this is general travel, whether you are flying, whether you are doing a road trip. These are the things we've learned over the years the hard way that will hopefully help your next trip go really smoothly. That is the goal, right? It's never going to be perfect, but if you can predict some of the little bumps in the road and avoid them, that's what I'm hoping to help you do here. So here we go. I've got my coffee, but we don't have any half and half, so it is black, which I used to drink black coffee all the time. I don't know why it's such a big deal to me today, but for some reason I'm like, it's been long enough that I'm like, oh, I haven't drank it black in so long. Before you ask what's on my lips, I have the NYX Filler Instinct in Beach Casual on my lips. It's a very light, nudie kind of pink color. I like it. It's a comfortable, really moisturizing lippy. And then this is the L'Oreal Shine in Feathery Fleur on top. All right, we're gonna start with the thing that may be obvious to some of you, maybe not. Create your own packing list for your kid or kids. So a little backstory here before I dive into this topic. I have a 4-year-old currently named Genevieve, Gigi we call her, and then I also have a 6-month-old named Felicity. And so we've kind of got a wide range. We've already traveled with Felicity a lot. We did a really long road trip with her. We've flown with her twice now. We're about to fly with her again. So she's a little traveling baby with us. So we've gotten to institute a lot of practice with all of this with 2 kids now. And what I've realized is that with your packing list, if you just Google baby packing list or toddler packing list, whatever, there are some really good ones out there. So what I would recommend if you're kind of starting from scratch is find a packing list online, take it, copy what you know you would use, and then add in your own things, right? We all have our own specific needs for our own kids and what they like, etc. And so having your own dynamic list that you change and edit from time to time as they get older, as they need different things, is huge, because then you feel really confident. Even if you only go on 1 vacation a year and this is the only time you're using it, you can feel really confident that you're working from a really good spot. And then you don't feel like you're forgetting super obvious things that you might forget, like wipes, or you know what I mean? It's on the list, you crossed it off, you packed it. But the other thing I realized is I was asking my husband, I was like, what do you think, Tyler? I know a lot of you guys already watch my videos, so this is not new, but I know there are some new eyes on this just based on the subject matter alone. So I'm trying to toe the line between who already knows all this stuff and who doesn't. So my husband's name is Tyler. And I was asking him, Tyler, what are things that you feel are really important tips and tricks for traveling with kids? And that was one of his biggest things, was create a packing list, but then edit it as your kid gets older. When Genevieve was first born, I created a packing list, and I was constantly adding to it. Eventually, a lot of the things on that list didn't apply anymore because she was no longer a baby. So that's when I kind of copied that, pasted it, created a new toddler one, deleted the baby stuff, and added in more toddler-friendly things. So that was huge, because now I do have 2 really good lists to work from. One more baby-focused, the other more toddler-focused. So definitely something to consider doing. If you want to see my packing list a little bit more in action and actually see specific things I pack, I've also done a video sharing all of that. So I will put that video up in the eye and down below if you want to watch it next, because that's where I get really specific about linking certain items, etc. I promise I won't spend that much time on each subject. That was just a big important one. So next thing kind of related to that is have a list for you to write down your day of packing items. So if you're like me, you probably pack the day or 2 before your trip. So there are just gonna be those things like your toothbrush, etc., that you're not gonna pack ahead of time. You have to kind of wait until you get up that morning, get ready for the day, then you can finally pack your toothbrush, let's say. That was always a source of stress for me, because I'd be like, oh, well, it's on the list and I can't check it off because I need to use it, but I don't want to forget it. So what I've realized is literally just having a piece of paper, just plain piece of paper, with your day of list. You can add things to it as you think of them or as you pull them from your packing list. That way you know you're just working from one more simplified leftover packing list that day you're leaving, and then you know you don't forget anything. So for me, I consider, the night we go to bed before a trip, I'll always tell Tyler, we are as packed as possible. Like everything is packed that we can pack, and everything that can't be packed yet is on that day of packing list. Another big thing, and this is another one Tyler brought up, think through who is gonna carry what bags and like strollers or kids. This is really important, especially if you have more than one kid, but I think it's important even if you have one, because you know, when you've got some roller suitcases and maybe a diaper bag and a backpack and maybe a purse and all of those kinds of things, you have to think about like, okay, we get out of the car at the airport, do we have literally enough hands to handle all of this stuff and the kid or kids? So we, a week before our last trip, we were just driving and we were like, all right, let's think through this. We get to the airport. Which bags do you grab? Okay. Which ones do I grab? Who's going to hold Genevieve's hand? Okay. Well, I'm going to wear the baby in the carrier, you know, all of those little things, but it made us feel so much more at peace. By the time we got to the airport a week later, we were like, our plan was set in stone. We knew exactly who was going to like wear the baby onto the airplane, who was going to deal with Gigi, etc. So that was huge. And it, again, just eased that stress because we already had our plan in place. One thing I highly recommend you do is pop onto Amazon or wherever you want to shop and get a couple of new things, toys, activities for your babies or kids. You know, even if it's only a couple hour flight, that's kind of a long time. We've done a 4.5 hour flight with both of them, and we've done some like 2 hour flights. And either way, they weirdly feel about the same amount of time, and I can't explain that. But you know, you got to keep them occupied. And while our toddler will use like her tablet for some of the time, we will always get a couple of new activities, whether it's like a new coloring book or a new like water wow, those are amazing. That kind of thing to have her look forward to. And the other piece of this is, you know, get him a couple new things. Maybe we got our little baby some new little like baby toys that she hasn't seen yet. That'll be exciting for her. But I think the key here for all of this is keep that in your back pocket. Keep it a secret or, you know, hidden as long as you can, because you need that as your ace in the hole when, if they're having a meltdown or, you know, whatever it is and nothing's working, you have that to use. So that is a big tip. We used to like give all the toys like way too soon in the trip or in the, you know, the flight or the road trip. And we're like, oh my gosh, now we've run out of all of our stuff. And that also goes with like tablet time. A lot of times, you know, Genevieve's super excited to just watch her tablet because she doesn't get to do that all the time, like in normal non-travel life. And we'll tell her now that she can understand, we're like, all right, you have to wait until the plane is up in the air. So while we're in the airport, she can't play with it. While we're, you know, on the plane, but just taxiing, she can't play with it. She has to wait till we're up in the air. That buys us that time for her to be excited about it, but still kind of behaving because she still wants to be able to, you know what I mean? So really waiting until you're like in the air, if you can, is huge. And sometimes I'll hide an extra toy or two for the flight or drive home. That's something I didn't used to think about, but I've realized, like, you know, you got that same drive or flight back from whence you came. And so, you know, you've got all this fun new stuff for the ride down, but what about on the way home? So sometimes I'll literally hide a couple of smaller items in my suitcase just for that flight or drive home. My husband just came in. He's gone. By the way, shameless plug, he does have a travel agency. So if you want to book travel through his agency, you can. It's People Mover Travel. I wasn't going to say anything because I know some people are like, but I'm like, yeah, conflict of interest. It's my husband. Of course I'm going to support him and mention it. That's why we travel all the time. That's why I have any of this knowledge in this brain. They do a lot of Disney travel, which is why we go to Disney, but they will book for anywhere, cruises, Europe, all inclusive, you name it. And it's free. It's a free quote. You don't pay them to do it. They get paid from, you know, wherever you end up booking if you book. Okay. So continuing on, get their wiggles out. So I mentioned not giving them like the tablet or the toys like in the airport if you can wait. That is the best time for them to not sit there and like look at the tablet. Get them walking around or wiggling around. For your baby, you know, I'll lay out a thin blanket that I'm just going to have to burn afterwards because it's on the airport floor. You know what I mean? And I'll lay it out and let her just like wiggle around, because once we're on the plane with our baby, she's going to be in our arms. She's a lap infant. And so she's not going to have that chance to just kind of wiggle around, roll around. So that's always important. Same with though toddlers and kids. Have them walk around, like get up and go walk around a shop or make a lap, whatever it is to keep them kind of moving and not stagnant, because they're going to be stagnant and sitting for a long time in the car or the plane or the train. I don't know how you're traveling. And that would go for, you know, if you're on a long road trip, stopping at rest areas or restaurants or whatever it is, gas stations, and have them walk around. Like if the gas station has any land around it, go walk around with them, because think about how long you're in the car. It's hard for adults, let alone kids that are in, you know, their 5-star harnesses and all that. 5-star, 5-point. You know what I meant. Okay. Always, always, always have a bribery snack or candy. I am not above it. I don't know any parent who is above bribery when it comes to like this kind of thing. Our ace in the hole here is like Smarties and like little dum-dum suckers. I'll just bring a ton of them for the whole trip and the trip home. And, you know, anytime you're just like, you know, you really need them to behave and they're kind of getting antsy, like, hey, if you can wait 10 more minutes, you'll get a Smartie, kid. And they're like, so if that's chocolate for your kid, whatever it is, just consider bringing some of that, because it's nice to have. Again, that's that ace in the hole, and that's what you need. I feel like I'm presenting this as though the kids are just always going to be misbehaving. It really is not. You know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. I was telling someone the other day, we were talking about traveling with kids, and I was like, you know what? They're either going to have meltdowns and misbehave at home or on your trip. So what's the difference? You know what I mean? I feel like that doesn't come out the way I mean it, but I guess my point is, kids are just going to be kids, whether they're at home or on the plane or in Disney World or at a, you know, whatever. So you might as well travel with them. I don't know what I'm saying. This video is crazy, guys. I'm going to blame the black coffee this time for this. Download videos and songs to the tablet. If your kid uses a tablet, or maybe you're letting them use yours on this flight or whatever, the road trip, download the stuff, because you're probably like most of us where we don't have internet access, you know what I mean, unless you have Wi-Fi, but like on the plane or in the car, make sure you go through and download. And another big piece of advice is, when you're about to head home from your trip, double check that they're still downloaded, because a lot of things, let me silence this, a lot of things, the download will expire after a certain amount of days, or, you know, whatever, or maybe there's some weird connection. So double check that the things are still downloaded. You might have to re-download some of them again before you head home. We've learned that the hard way multiple times. This one involves a story time. And I need you to heed my warning. Bring 2 extra outfits for your kids. 2. There have been multiple stories, but I'll pick the wildest one. We were waiting for a flight home from Paris with Genevieve. 5 minutes before we were going to get on the plane, suddenly just threw up everywhere. There was no warning sign, just threw up all over me, all over her, all over the airport floor. And I really mean 5 minutes before the gate shuts. We were literally just about to get in line. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do we do? So we, you know, I take her to the bathroom, we get cleaned up. I luckily had an outfit change for her. Most of it was just on the outside of my sweater, so I literally just threw it away because I'm like, I don't have a bag. You know what I mean? It was just one of those split second, it's in the trash. Luckily, my undershirt I was wearing didn't get anything on it, so it was fine. But then as we got on the plane, guess what? We're there a while, and then all of a sudden she kicks and it spills my coffee all over. So we've got coffee on us. I don't have a second outfit for her. And that's just the way I was gonna be because I didn't have an extra shirt or anything. In that moment, I learned why it is important to have 2 extra outfits, because especially if it is a case where they get sick, there's a chance they might get sick again. Right? But then also just generally things just happen. And boy, when it rains, it pours. So bring 2 extra outfits, bring an extra shirt at least for yourself. I've started doing that now because I figure, pants is something I could maybe, but a shirt is so close to you that it'd just be nice to at least have a fresh shirt if you need it. Plus you could always lose your luggage, which that's another thing that's happened, that it's nice to have at least something fresh to put on. And I know you're gonna get to that point where you're packing where you're like, because I do too. I'm like, but if I took out these extra outfits for them and just had 1 extra outfit, it would save room. Just bring the 2. Just for your own peace of mind, bring 2 extra outfits. We did get on the flight. Everything was okay, by the way, if you were curious. Don't forget their birth certificate and or passport. So obviously if you're going international, you need their passport. But if you've got a lap infant, no matter where you're flying to, if you're flying, you're going to need their birth certificate to prove their age. So, we've been flying with her as a lap infant, so we have to show the birth certificate every time we go get our tickets and check in our luggage so that they can prove, give her ticket and prove that she really is of an age to be sitting on someone's lap. Now, obviously you could look at her and know, but that's just the way they do it. That's what you're supposed to do. So what we typically do is instead of, we'll typically have our tickets ahead of time, on our phone, right? But when we go to check our luggage, we'll go up to the desk instead of just like one of the little kiosks, because that's where we can say, okay, you know, here's our birth certificate for her, and then they'll get the tickets printed, have hers usually stapled to the back of one of ours to prove like, okay, she'll be sitting on your guys' lap, you know. That way it's done and over with, and obviously that only applies to, I think it's 2 and under, so it doesn't apply to everyone watching this, but just so you know. So I just learned from Mr. Travel Agent, bye handsome, that typically 2 and under, he said it can vary by airline though. He was putting on a thing on my Apple Watch. Thank you. That's so nice. Like a, what's that called? My brain. The screen protector. One thing that was newer to us this year was renting baby supplies at your destination. So Disney is kind of the specific place, but you can do it in so many places. I know my sister, she's got a lot of kids, and they've rented condos like down in Florida, and there are rental companies down there. You can rent like a high chair or a pack and play or a stroller, like all of those different car seats. So many things you can rent, and it's not wildly expensive. They'll usually drop it off where you are and pick it up where you are, so it's pretty convenient. So it's something to consider if you were like, oh, we got to bring, you know, this and that and that. Babies come with a lot of supplies they need. And especially if you know your baby and you know they do better, you know, whatever. It's something worth looking into for wherever you're going. And even on like cruises, that's the next place we're going. You know, they have pack and plays that you can request. They have that kind of thing. I think they even have strollers you can rent. But it's worth looking into if you know that would be easier, even if you're going on a road trip. If you know your space is limited in the back, and it would just be so much easier for you to just rent the stroller or whatever from a place there, then I would look into it. Definitely do it ahead of time and book it, if you will, ahead of time too, just in case. I've even rented a bottle warmer before. I didn't really use it. I was just trying to get to like the free shipping or whatever, free delivery, but anyway, it's another story for another day. One of my favorite things I learned about was the idea of a snack tackle box or a snackle box. I learned about it from RZ Roll. I'll link their channel. I love them. That's where I first heard about it. And it's literally like a miniature tackle box. I'll link the exact one we use. And there's little compartments. You can adjust how big each thing is. And you can just fill it with different snacks for your toddler. So, you know, goldfish and a granola bar and not gummy bears, fruit snacks. Whatever it is they'll eat, you can kind of fit it in there. You could put their name on it if you want, if you have more than one kid using them. Close it up. It can fit right in their backpack. And I know that Genevieve has loved it because, you know, she'll sit on the airplane or in the car and she feels like she kind of has that control over like snacking. And I know she's 4 at this age, that's just so fun to them to have that kind of power over what they're eating in that moment. That's been really cool. Plus it's just easier. Then I'm not constantly like, okay, what snack do you want? And getting it out of the bag and hitting it. Okay, now what do you want? You know, it's just easy. You've got it right in front of you, honey. That's it. So eat at your own leisure. But I think even if you've got a baby that eats like, you know, puffs and goldfish and like those little things, teething wafers, you could totally use this for those too. So if you are driving, I need you to just resign yourself to the fact that you are going to stop, and you need to stop every couple of hours. The babies need breaks from their car seats. The toddlers and kids need breaks. You need a break from sitting. Like I am in my family very prone to blood clotting, so we really do have to be cognizant of how often we stop and get up and walk and stretch. You know what I mean? Even if it's just a 10-minute stop, everyone use the restroom, whether you need to or not. Maybe go get some coffee, get a snack from the gas station, fill the tank up. There's a million reasons you could stop. But just to get everyone out of the car, even for that 5 or 10 minutes, is gonna, yes, it will add some time to your trip, but it's gonna be such a more pleasant experience for everyone. And plus there's some data, and I haven't really looked deeply into it, but like keeping your kid in a car seat for too long really can be bad for them. I don't know exactly why. Please don't come for me. I just kind of have read little bits here and there. So again, just pointing to the fact that it's good to take those breaks and to get out of the car seats for just a little bit. So another thing that I've gotten questions about, I know Tyler gets a lot of questions about, is how do you transfer from like the airport to your hotel if you have kids and you need a car seat or a booster seat? So if you're renting a car, you can rent booster seats and car seats from the rental company. We just did that when we were out in California. It was so seamless, so easy. So that was great. Some places, it's very limited, but some of them have Uber car seat where there are drivers that are equipped with a car seat. Only some cities have it. It's very, very hit or miss, so I wouldn't plan on depending on that. The only place you could depend on that is Disney World, because they have their minivan service, which is through Lyft, where they're all equipped with actually 2 car seats. And it's like very stringent to like meet that, you know, criteria. But then there's also just Lyft car seats, or is it Uber car seat in Disney just generally, if I'm remembering right. So that's like the one place I know you can depend on it. So we won't bring car seats there, because we know if we are using an Uber and Lyft, and that's very rare, when we do, we know we're able to get one with a car seat or 2. The other thing is you can always look into, you know, there's a lot of times there's airport shuttles to certain hotels, depending on where you're staying, that might be a little bit safer to have your kid in there if it doesn't have a car seat versus, you know, just getting in a car without a car seat. You may just realize like where you're going, you genuinely just don't have an option and you have to bring the car seat. We have the Doona car seat, which is really expensive, but if you travel a lot, even if you don't, it's the kind that literally wheels pop down and it turns into like a little miniature stroller, but then you can just put it in the car. That is incredible. But I mean, any car seat you can bring, any carrier where you can just buckle it straight in, you can bring that, right? And you can gate check it, which we're going to talk about in a second. So you may just realize for your trip this time that you have to bring the car seat, and that's okay too. It's not a big deal. Like I literally, every time we're at the airport, we see tons of parents with the car seat. I have seen people, like there's different ways you can attach it to like your rolling suitcase. So I'll see people like kind of attach the car seat to it so they can just kind of roll it without having to carry it through the airport. So that's something worth looking into maybe on Amazon if you are planning on bringing it, especially if it's like one of the bigger convertible car seats. You're definitely not going to want to lug that through. So it'd be nice to have a contraption to be able to attach it and just roll it with you. I know it's a lot of information. Gate checking, strollers, car seats. These are the kinds of things that, again, the logistical things that used to stress me out that may be stressing some of you guys out planning for a trip. All you have to do, and this is what we do every single time, is if you have a stroller or a car seat and you're not planning, like the only reason you'd bring your car seat onto the plane would be if you've bought a ticket for that kid or baby that's in the car seat. Otherwise, if you're their lap infant, you can't bring the car seat on the plane. I'm hoping I'm saying that all correctly. So with that in mind, typically you would gate check any strollers you have and any like carriers or car seats. So all that means is once you've gotten your tickets, you've gotten through security and you're waiting at the gate to like get on the plane and you're just kind of killing time. All you do is take your tickets up to the little gate desk there at whatever your gate is, and you tell them, hey, I just needed to gate check my stroller or my car seat or both, whatever. And all they'll do is they'll check your tickets and then they'll give you a little thing to tie onto the stroller and or the car seats. And that's it. You keep them with you. And when you're actually getting onto the plane with all of your kids and stuff, when you're getting on at the very end of the ramp before you get onto the actual plane, you'll see other people have already started just leaving their strollers and car seats there. That's where you leave it. You fold it up if it's a stroller. You leave it there. Some people will put their car seat and stroller in like a bag if you buy one of those. Since we invested in the Doona, we've bought a bag that works for it, because when we gate check that, we're like wanting it to like not be all scratched up. So we never used to be the kind of person to put it in bags, but now that we've got like a nicer one, we're like, maybe we should like actually. Anyway, that's it, you guys, that's it. So we just stick it there. And then when you get off the plane, when you've gotten to your destination, right when you come off the plane, it's gonna be sitting there. And if it's not, you just kind of wait there until it does, but it'll be in that same area at the bottom of the ramp, and then you just take it and that's it. You got your stroller and car seats back. So another thing you could always do is actually check your car seat. That's always an option. We typically don't, because we typically use it like the Doona. We're actually like rolling it through the airport. But if you don't want to bring it all the way through because you're not going to use it at the airport at all, then I would just check it, honestly, because then you don't have to worry about lugging it. So there's definitely options there, but that's all of the info I know on that subject. And another thing to consider is totally not related to that at all. Next thing. Another thing to consider is have your preschooler or toddler carry their own backpack, depending on how big they are, how heavy the bag is. You know, Genevieve's finally gotten to this point at 4 where she wants to carry her backpack. And so it's been kind of nice because she'll carry it. She's got her little snackle box in there. Actually, usually we carry the tablet with us because it's just so heavy that the second it's on her. So like that we usually have with us, but she'll have, you know, some coloring stuff and a couple toys that she's picked out, maybe a stuffed animal and her snacks and drink, and that's it. And she just wears it through, you know. Another thing, I saw a TikTok on this and I was giggling because I thought, well, that's obvious. But then I thought about it. I'm like, well, maybe it's not obvious. So I want to mention it here. When you go through security, we all know you're not allowed to have any liquids going through unless they're like under 3.4 ounces in a clear bag and all that. Okay. But once you get through security, I'll typically bring water bottles for each of us empty. And then Genevieve's little, you know, toddlery closed lid cup, empty. And so when we get through security, most airports will have like a good water fountain, like water bottle filling type fountain. And we'll just go fill all of our stuff. We don't have to buy any waters if we don't want to from the airport. And it's great because now at that point you're past security. So you can obviously have liquid and you can bring it on the plane. But it's just a nice way to not have to spend money on that and to still, like, you know, have your toddler able to use the cup they're maybe used to using versus a water bottle that they're definitely going to spill all over themselves on the plane. So I wanted to bring that up, you know, the water bottle filling things, because like I said, I felt like that was pretty obvious, but maybe it really isn't obvious to everyone. I think that's everything. I'm sure the second I'm done filming this, I'll think of about a million more things I should have mentioned. Like I said, if you're curious about the specific things I pack for my preschooler and my baby. Sounds weird saying my baby. I don't know why. It just feels weird. But if you are curious about the specific things, I'll link that video if you want to watch that now. And you get kind of sneak peeks of my packing list. I don't share my packing list because, like, you know what I mean? Like a straight up like PDF. Because honestly, they're kind of a mess and they're so specific to us. That I don't know that it'd be helpful, but I do show it on there. So if you wanted to like see a screenshot and, you know, do whatever, but there are so many packing lists online, you guys. You would be better off just finding a good one online and then editing it for yourself. So, a lot of information. I really hope that was helpful if you are planning a trip or whatever. Maybe you just watch my videos and so you just decided to hang out and watch this. Thank you. Thank you too. Big hug. And if you are new and you are into, you know, like vlog content, this kind of travel-y content, I do a lot of like makeup-y things and I kind of just do it all here. I would love for you to subscribe, stick around. I upload, right now I'm uploading 2 videos a week. I'd love to have you join our little family here and get to know my family and our vlogs and stuff. And I love you all. Thanks for watching. Bye.